some of our live reporters in the field.
Yeah, we're going to go to Esme Murphy right now, who's at DFL headquarters, and they are claiming that Senator Amy Klobuchar has won. Can you hear me, Esme? I know it's pretty loud there.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you this, Amelia. People here are thrilled by Senator Amy Klobuchar's victory. CBS News has called this race already, just minutes after the polls closed. Also, other news outlets have done that as well. Senator Klobuchar with a remarkable win. Senator Klobuchar arrived here about an hour ago, about 45 minutes before the polls closed, to enormous cheers. She was enthusiastically greeted. She was with her husband, Professor John Bessler, and her daughter, Abigail Bessler. People were cheering Amy, Amy. Klobuchar said she was optimistic about the outcome.
Well, it is a big night. You take nothing for granted, but I feel really good because of the turnout that we're seeing across the state. And our ticket has been working to not just focus on Democrats, but independents, moderate Republicans. And our basic message is simple: one Minnesota.
Now, I can tell you this, when that was announced here, this crowd here applauded, but it was tempered a bit. Everyone here expected Senator Klobuchar to win big, and to win early. The big question here at DFL headquarters is, will there be an Amy Klobuchar coattail effect? In other words, will her big win affect other DFL candidates and give them a boost? And that's the big question.
We will see. Esme,
Back to you,
Frank.
very
much. Yep.
We're going to go now to John Lawrenson, who is covering the 5th Congressional District, with Ilhan Omar's headquarters there. John, what's going on there? I understand that she's supposed to be speaking pretty soon?
Yeah, sometime, Amelia, between 8:30 and 9 o'clock. She's expected to arrive here behind me, but people have been filtering in for the last hour and a half or so, getting some seats here, getting ready to listen to her speak at some point yet this evening. She's the heavy favorite in the 5th Congressional District, and of course she would make history if she won tonight, and that would be the first Somali American woman in Congress. Obviously she's up right now in the early polls as the heavy favorite, 76% to 24%, so she is expected to win this evening. A number of things she's talked about in her campaign: gun control, immigration, health care, all those things, calling herself a progressive voice as well. We have media here, guys. It's gone international, worldwide. We have media here from France. We have Arabic news as well. We have England. We have Japan. So we have a lot of interest from around the world in what could be a historic finish here tonight, guys.
All right. Thank you very much, John.
We want to bring up Pat Kessler in now. Pat, you have some news from across the border in Wisconsin.
Yes, in Wisconsin, Tammy Baldwin, the Democrat, has been declared the winner. So 2 female senators so far in Wisconsin and Minnesota, Democrats: Amy Klobuchar, Tammy Baldwin. Marsha Blackburn, another female senator, a Republican, winning in Tennessee. So yes, the Senate women are moving forward here.
And obviously Klobuchar and even Baldwin, no surprise, really.
Yeah, it's not. They both it was a little tighter in Wisconsin, but Amy Klobuchar, everybody expected her to win by a wide margin. That appears to be what happened.
Is this going in the direction, I mean, I know it's still too early to predict because it's only about 8:30, but is this going in the direction, or do you see something like a wave, the blue wave? Or?
You know, we don't quite yet. From the results that we're seeing from around the country, starting in the East Coast and moving toward the Midwest, it doesn't look like a huge blue tsunami, maybe not a wave, but we're watching it really closely all night.
All right. Thank you, Pat. We're going to continue our election coverage, WCCO.com, and on Facebook right now.
Welcome back on our digital platforms, everyone. Amy Klobuchar projected to win the Senate race. Pat, we don't need to dwell on this, pardon me, a lot, but if you would, what do you think Amy Klobuchar's victory means to the special election for Al Franken's seat?
Well, it all depends on how many coattails, as we say, how many votes that Amy Klobuchar is going to get. She is the strongest of the Minnesota Democrats, and as a matter of fact, the strongest candidate in the state of Minnesota. So she's going to get more than 1 million votes, and does that pull other candidates along with her? If you're voting in the voting booth and you see Amy Klobuchar, does that mean you're going to vote for other Democrats? So it could have an effect. Now, we see voter turnouts at record levels all around the state, particularly in the Twin Cities area. That could help Tina Smith all on her own. This is a race against Republican Karen Housley that was closer than people expected. So Amy Klobuchar's big win could help Tina Smith in her election.
Why do you think it was closer than expected?
Part of it is because I think that Tina Smith wasn't really out there, out front and center, as people expected her to be. Karen Housley was out there, very aggressive, and ran a pretty good campaign, but it may not be enough in this year if the Democrats are going to win here in Minnesota.
Do you think it affected her at all that she didn't show up at that one debate?
You know, I do. I think a lot of political people, including Tina Smith's campaign, disagrees about that. But I think when you don't show up for the only televised debate, that indicates that you feel like you were so far ahead you don't need to. And I think that's how people interpreted it. And then Karen Housley took that and ran with it. And I think she used that against Tina Smith. But part of it is that I think with the Democrats and with a lot of talk about Al Franken, Tina Smith was appointed. All of this could have some effect on this. Back to Amy Klobuchar for a minute. Is it too soon to talk about what happens with Amy Klobuchar after this election?
She's got 6 years now, and people, people talk about
there's
her
an
a lot
election
about
in
running
2020.
for president. Yeah.
She was on Stephen Colbert last night.
Well, and Stephen asked her. She was on Stephen Colbert the night before the election here in Minnesota, and Colbert asked her, "What are you doing here?" And do you feel so confident about it? She said she was still nervous. She had a big crowd, but yeah, I mean, people are going to start talking about her in that way, I think. And we'll see where that goes in the next year or
Well, her
so.
profile keeps growing and growing.
It does. Her national profile is growing. This does nothing but help her. Tammy Baldwin, I think, started out with a tough race in Wisconsin, but she pulled ahead. That could signal some more Democratic votes and a Democratic surge, so to speak, in Wisconsin. So pay attention to that as well.
Yeah, and we should mention to our friends in Wisconsin watching us, you're keeping a very close eye on the gubernatorial race.
Yeah, we're watching all of that, and all of these are close races. And the Wisconsin Democrats out in the wilderness for the last 8 years in the governor's race, in the governor's office, and they're pushing really hard. They want that office badly. And it's Trump versus not Trump is what's going to happen in that race.
And if Ilhan Omar actually speaks while we're on our digital platform, we'll get to that immediately. We expect her to do that shortly, but we're not sure exactly when that's going to happen. I'm not sure we need to rehash a lot of that at this point right now, though.
Yeah, she is going to win a big victory, and this is a reliably Democratic district in the 5th. This is where Keith Ellison served for many years. And there have been Democrats in Hennepin County and Minneapolis in the 5th Congressional District for decades. We did not expect that to change, and it did not. It will not tonight. So Ilhan Omar will be in that seat for as long as she wants it, as long as Minneapolis and Hennepin County remains Democratic, which it appears it is.
Well, you brought up Keith Ellison's name, so I can't help but talk the Attorney General's race.
That's going to be interesting.
That one is too close to call. That's a toss-up. That's got a lot of people scratching their heads. Why did Keith Ellison jump into this? He's in the Attorney General's race. He is the subject of, he's been accused of domestic violence and emotional abuse by a former girlfriend, charges he adamantly, categorically denies. And that has definitely affected this race. He's a liberal, progressive Democrat, and he's the deputy chair of the National Democratic Party. He is running against a very conservative lawyer, Doug Wardlow, who was a lawyer for the Alliance Defending Freedom, a very conservative group that the Southern Poverty Law Center has called a hate group because they file lawsuits against gay marriage, against gay rights. And those are some of the things that and transgender rights. And so that race is too close to call. I think you're going to see an undervote. And by undervote, we mean you're going to see a large number of people voting at the tops of the ticket, and you might see fewer votes at the bottom. But in the last few days, Ellison has pushed hard. Democrats think they're going to win that.
There's also a third candidate I noticed when I went to vote today. A third person.
Yeah, there is the Grassroots Party candidate who is also a member of the Legalize Marijuana Now party, who has actually dropped out of the race and endorsed Keith Ellison, But I think a lot of people going into the voting booth, his name is still on the ballot because he dropped out so late. I think a lot of people, if there's a protest vote, and I'm very interested to see this as we go tonight, if there's a protest vote, it might be with the Legalize Marijuana Now party. And then if they get 5% of the vote,
they become a real party.
that's a major party designation here in Minnesota. I'll tell you. I mean, there's still surprises to come tonight.
There will, and in the next half hour, it should start to get interesting.
Yeah, it will.
Results. All right, Pat, thank you.
You bet.
And of course, we will continue to follow this online and on TV as we follow all the big races in campaign 2018.